Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC Fight Night 71. Overall, this was another case like the last UFC pay-per-view where the main card was a lot better than the prelims. A lot of prelims were kind of ho-hum, except for like Good versus Craig. But all the other, pretty much all the fights on the main card, I mean, Holm versus Renault wasn't the greatest. But, yeah, it's just good stuff. Did pretty well in my picks, too. Got 9 out of 12. The only 3 I missed were Kevin Casey versus Eldemar Alcantara, Frank Mir versus Todd Duffy, and Ronnie Yaya versus Masanori Kanehara. And quite honestly, in my opinion, Kanehara should have won that fight. I don't know what Yaya did to win that fight. Bonuses, Frank Mir and Tony Ferguson got performance of the night, while Alan Joban versus Dwyer got fight of the night. Another thing to note, John Dodson versus Demetrius Johnson 2 will be the main event for UFC 191. Very curious about that decision, to be honest with you. Demetrius Johnson has not shown to be much of a pay-per-view draw, and actually has been one of the lowest drawing champions of like the modern era. Very curious move there, actually. I thought they would probably put him on free TV, where he's actually done pretty well. But yeah, maybe just no one's available. Who knows? Maybe they think Dodson and the heat between the two guys will entice viewers to possibly buy the pay-per-view. Maybe we got to see the rest of the card. I don't know. Let's just get started. Frank Mir defeated Todd Duffy by knockout in the first round. Man, that was the ugliest right hook that I've seen. Then Todd Duffy threw it, and then he was moving forward. It was kind of lunging almost. It was just he's off balance. He's also just kind of lunging forward. So when Frank Mir nailed him with that left hook, it was over. I mean, there's just too many factors there to not get him knocked down. Also, Duffy doesn't have the best chin. Actually, I watched this with my brother, and I was just like, win or lose. I was watching the fight just like within the first couple seconds, and I was like, win or lose, Todd Duffy, he has a lot of things to like, but there's one thing, he's not the most durable guy. He just doesn't take a punch well. Chin's not that good. Even if he beats Frank Mir, he's probably not going to beat higher level heavyweights at this time. It's just he's not durable enough, A guy like Ben Rothwell will take a million punches from Duffy and give him one, and then Duffy's lights will be put out. Fight was fun. This was a very fun fight. It was a brawl, too, which is also very curious. I've seen Duffy be a little more technical than this, but they just went to a brawl, and whenever you brawl, it becomes a 50-50 proposition. It's whoever lands first wins, in a sense, you can tell that Frank Mir's boxing technique has improved, and actually this win really signals the weird thing about the heavyweight division. It's like everyone relevant like many years ago are relevant now, and it's odd. Like the champion's Fabricio Verdun, the guy's like 36, 37, and he looks better than he's ever looked. His striking's greatly improved. His ground game is still, some of the best in the world. Andrei Arlovski coming off the big win over Travis Brown. Mark Hunt fought for a title at age 39. Ben Rothwell, I think he's mid-30s. I think he's in his early 30s. Been in the sport for a long time. He's still up there. Frank Mir, 2-fight win streak. knocking out both Bigfoot Silva and now a young up-and-comer in Todd Duffy. It's heavyweight, it's the rules of the heavyweight division, like, don't apply to other divisions. Prospect, you can be in your 30s and still be a prospect at heavyweight. Whereas in other divisions, if you're 30 and you don't have that many fights, you're probably going to reach a ceiling a lot quicker. And while improvement will probably happen, once again, there's just a ceiling that happens when you're like, at a certain age. Heavyweight, though, does not work that way. I'd also argue light heavyweight doesn't work that way. Don't really know why that is. I think there's a couple theories out there, but for all we know, a guy like, Miracle Crocop's relevant again, by the way, went beating Gabriel Gonzaga. For all I know, in like 2 years, Matt Mitrione's gonna just tear through guys or something. It's a weird division. It just doesn't play by the rules that we know for any other weight class. There's this, the veterans generally beat the up and comers, even when the veterans have looked bad. It's like, how many career resurgences have we seen? I mean, Frank Mir was on a 4-fight losing streak and not looking good in any of those fights. Andrei Arlovski was getting knocked out right and left, Verdum, he was always around, but I don't think anyone really took him too seriously as a potential UFC champion until he just really turned it around. Mark Hunt, same thing, dude. Did I didn't mention Mark Hunt? But going back to the fight and the fighters, Frank Mir, one thing that's really interesting about this fight, though, and I in hindsight, I thought about this, like, when does Frank Mir actually lose at range? I just thought about that till now. It's like, I guess Nogueira in their second fight managed to really beat him up at range, and Junior Dos Santos managed to do it. But even like Daniel Cormier, he fought him in the inside. I mean, every time he was on the outside, he just got body kicked. Alistair Overeem just took him down all day. Josh Barnett immediately goes for the clinch and starts kneeing him. Shane Carwin bullying him up against the cage, beating him up there. Brock Lesnar, second fight, take him down, bring him to the cage if you need to, take him down, smother. But at range, Frank Mir actually does pretty well. He just, he can strike. He has some power in his striking. He can be a bit tricky sometimes. He'll throw a left hook in there. He'll throw a nice kick in there. An overhand right. I mean, think about like his fight against Congo. He freaking makes him fly across the cage, throwing like this overhand right off a feint. So Frank Mir, the way I see Frank Mir at this point, I totally underrated and underestimated the guy. But he's a guy, he still doesn't take a hit too well, but it will take a couple hits to really put him out. He's not like, besides when he was like just totally like after the motorcycle accident and just totally looking bad. I can't recall too many guys getting just a total one-hit knockout on the guy. I remember it's like maybe Josh Barnett made him crumble, but you have to really smother the guy and kind of chip away at him in the inside, to beat him, to knock him out. Otherwise, I named a couple guys that Frank Mir can fight. Ben Rothwell, I think, would be a good fight for him. Arlovski versus Mir is a fight I've wanted to see for a while. Both are former UFC champions. They've they were kind of around during the same time. You know, they really started to get into some form of prominence around the same time. You know, it's funny with Frank Mir though. The way I see him, I think he can beat. Let's just say he's like number 7. He can beat anyone below 7 and below, but like anyone above that, I don't think he beats Stipe Miocic. You know, personally, I don't think he beats Cain Velasquez. I don't think he beats Verdum. You know, if he rematched a lot of the guys he fought, that he's lost to, I think Mir would probably lose. Overeem would just take him down over and over again, and whatnot. But yeah, he's still in it, you know. And unfortunately, Todd Duffy, all 3 of his losses have been by vicious knockout. The Russell one, the Overeem one, and now this one. I mean, he gets put to sleep. You know, it's really unfortunate because he was seen as one of the brighter prospects of the division. He's big for the weight class, but he moves well when he's not brawling. He's highly athletic. He just doesn't have a good chin. He tends to brawl. You know, it's a lot of things are there except durability, really, and maybe even a bit of fight IQ in this case, because I have no idea why he insisted on brawling. I mean, Todd Duffy, I mean, he can probably fight some other guys that are coming up. I don't know if you need to give him the higher up guys, but, you know, you can give him like a Derek Lewis, Soa Palele. The loser of Rochat versus Timothy Johnson. Guys like that, you know, you can give that to Todd Duffy. It's, you know, Matt Mitrione and Todd Duffy wouldn't even be too bad either. So yeah. Next fight after that, Tony Ferguson defeated Josh Thompson by unanimous decision. Wow. That's really all I can say with Tony Ferguson here. I picked him to win, and he didn't just win. I mean, it finished Thompson, and credit to Thompson for his toughness and durability. Like, this is, you know, like, let's put that durability and toughness into Todd Duffy, and then Duffy would be wrecking fools, you know? But he doesn't have that. Credit to Thompson, man. I mean, he got dropped by an elbow, bleeding all over the place. There's one point where he got hit really hard in the face. I think it was a hook or something like that. He goes for a punch, and he's just so wobbled. I mean, it looked like he was about to fall over at one point. Where, like after he threw a punch. Like, he couldn't even throw it correctly. One thing that's interesting about Ferguson here is, you know, I've seen him do the front rolls and a couple of these other unorthodox moves, but man, he really went all out in this fight. You know, I mean, some of his movements was just kind of weird. He was like touching the ground at points of the fight, you know, just doing just unorthodox things that you're not expecting. But, you know, credit to him because in a sense it's like, hey, what's he going to throw next? Is he going to throw a punch? Is he going to throw a kick? I mean, what's he going to do? So obviously he's a guy that, you know, it's something that will disrupt rhythm, that will throw an opponent off. I actually liked some of the front rolls. He actually used that front roll to defend a takedown. I thought that was really good. In the third round, he was on his back, and he showed his really good guard, hitting a Kimura and whatnot, scrambling out. Yeah, you know, Ferguson, really, he looked like a top 10 guy here. Outside of that, he's a good boxer. He moves his head well. He has a good chin. And he can wrestle. He can defend takedowns. And he has good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, there's a lot to like with Tony Ferguson. And the potential for him to be a title contender is more than possible. In my opinion. I don't see... The only weaknesses I see in Ferguson really are the ones he creates for himself. Like, you know, like he'll die. Like, he'll die for a leg lock. You know, he will do certain things. He gets his kicks caught a lot and taken down from that. You know, otherwise though, you know, I don't know who can really outstrike the guy. I don't know if, I mean, Castillo managed to out-wrestle the guy, but part of that was also, once again, with Ferguson going for dumb things, and you know, where he puts himself on his back. As far as who Ferguson should fight, I know he called out Pettis. That would be a cool fight. I'm thinking Eddie Alvarez. Actually, Eddie Alvarez coming off the win over Melendez. I think it's just an appropriate fight for Ferguson at this point. If you want to give him the winner of Felder versus Barboza, that'd be cool too. You know, he's already fought Michael Johnson, but you know, a second go around with Michael Johnson, the winner of Michael Johnson wins against Dariush, that'd be cool. But if Dariush wins, Dariush Ferguson would be cool too. So, you know, this is lightweight pretty much, and this is funny how different this is a really good example of how other divisions work. You know, in heavyweight, the veteran Frank Mir beat Todd Duffy. And lightweight, the young up-and-comer beat the veteran, Ferguson beat the veteran and Josh Thompson. That's how it's generally supposed to be. But, like, you know, it's, like I said, it's a different thing. But yeah, you know, what's cool with lightweight is we're definitely seeing a movement with the up-and-comers. I've already been noticing it. You know, it's like slowly but surely, guys like Miles Jarek went up there, but I think he's going back down. Barboza went up, you know, to the top 10. Like, a lot of these younger fighters are coming up into the top 10. Michael Johnson. Even Rafael Dos Anjos, he's relatively new to the top, you know, to the very top, you know. For a while, he was a perpetual mid-level fighter. You know, Felder wins, he'll be in top. Dariush, he's getting up there. I'm missing guys too. You know, Iaquinta got up there for a while, you know. Iaquinta's up there, you know. So yeah, you know, it's great stuff for Ferguson. Thompson, he's tough as nails, man. As far as who he should fight next, I'd like to see him kind of give him something of a softball, to be honest with you. He loses a lot of, like, tough split decisions. Like, against Benson Henderson, you know, he lost, but, like, many argue he got the win, and he fought Bobby Green in a terrible fight that Green ended up winning. I actually had that for Thompson, personally. Yeah, I'd kind of like to just see him get someone more towards the mid-level. I can see him get an up-and-comer, you know, like, I mean, they can do Jim Miller, Josh Thompson, that'd be kind of cool, you know. I think Thompson can win that one. Jim Miller's fighting Danny Castillo, because it looks like they're just feeding Josh Thompson, like, new guys. He was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns at one point, too. So he can fight, like, the loser of Felder Barboza, the loser of Iaquinta versus, who's Iaquinta fighting now? Oh, yeah, I forgot. I totally forgot who he's fighting. But yeah, you know. Another guy that's young and up and coming that I totally forgot in lightweight, and you're seeing a big movement. Many peg him as the next champion. The Eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov too, you know. It'd be fun actually to see Ferguson versus Habib, because I kind of wonder if Ferguson's like unorthodox game would maybe even throw off Habib. I wonder if Ferguson can just scramble back to his feet and maybe even beat him up on the stand up. I don't think anyone can really defend Habib's takedowns though, and just his insane pressure. But moving up pretty high for Ferguson. Next round, Holly Holm defeated Marion Renault by unanimous decision. Not a great fight. There's a lot of times that Holly Holm's hitting air. But it's an improvement from the Pennington fight. And, I kind of have to wonder if women's bantamweight kind of works in the same way like heavyweight does. Like, if you have to be a 20-year-old to be a prospect. Because Holly Holm's like in her 30s. And Marion Renault is like in her mid/late 30s actually. And they're improving, Yeah, I kind of wonder about that, actually. Anyways, thing with Holm, I like her kick game, It's money, her body kicks are really good. Her head kicks are really sharp. She's big for a weight class, too. And she moves relatively well. Stylistic, here's the problem. It's simply this. It's Ronda Rousey rules the bantamweight division, and it's always a case of, is this person a threat to Rousey? Is this person a threat to Rousey? And with Holly Holm, it's like, is she a threat to Rousey at this point? No, probably not. Could she be in 4 fights? Maybe. She actually has a game that you would actually think would be pretty good against Rousey. And like, the other thing is with Ronda Rousey, she's big for the weight class herself. Holly Holm's big for the weight class. Holly Holm moves a lot. She fights a really safe distance fighting style. I don't know if she could do that for 5 rounds against Ronda Rousey and defend takedowns and whatnot, but it's, at this point, no one's beating Rousey on the ground, so it really is defeat, Holly Holm's like your best option. At this point, though, I personally don't believe she's ready for Ronda Rousey. I think she just needs to get more fights under her belt. I'm kind of thinking she get like Liz Carmouche, someone that's really tough, that'll really go after her, and will try to take her down. It'll be an interesting fight, good test fight right there. If not, you could go with the winner of Tate versus I, and winner of that gets Holm, and the winner of that gets Rousey or something like that. I'd just like to see Holly Holm tested at this point, This is a good win, and it was pretty decisive too, there's no question that Holm was the superior fighter here. It wasn't until the 3rd round that she really let go, and it was just like, it seemed like it clicked in her head that like, hey, I can hurt her, I can land combinations, and she cannot do anything to me. She pulls guard and she slams her, spine buster style to the mat, Well, not really spine buster style. It's more like, what pro wrestling move can I think? It's not powerbomb style either, necessarily. It just kind of slams her to the mat. The lack of depth at women's bantamweight would suggest that Holly Holm more than likely will fight Ronda Rousey in the near future. There's also kind of a storyline with Ronda Rousey and how many undefeated fighters she's beating. Kat Zingano, Sarah McMahon, now Betch Correia. Holly Holm at this moment is undefeated. So there is kind of a narrative there that she keeps fighting and eventually beating, undefeated fighters. With Mayweather now, yeah, just more lower to mid-level fighters of the division. I can't really say a great name for her to fight or anything like that. And so after that, Manny Gambaryan defeated Scott Jorgensen by unanimous decision. This fight was honestly a lot better than it probably had any right to be. Both of them were looking for that guillotine. Striking was fun enough. Gambaryan's strength was really apparent, and he even dropped Jorgensen at one point. This is a fun fight. All things considered, just because both of these guys really are past their primes. But I think Gambaryan still has a little something at 135. He can be definitely a good test for some fighters. He's tough. He's in the fight. He's a little slower. He can't take a hit as well as he used to. But, he can do a little bit of everything. He can submit you. He's a really good guillotine and front choke series. He can take you down. He can take your back. And he does have power in his strikes. So, he seems to have a little something left in the tank, especially at bantamweight. And he's a lot stronger than a lot of his opposition. Jorgensen usually is stronger than his opposition, but he's not stronger than Gambaryan here. There's a lot of losses in a row for... I don't know if it's in a row, because he beat Danny Martinez and then he kept losing fights. But I could see Jorgensen getting cut. He's really fallen off. He can't take a hit very well. His stand-up's never really improved, but he's still a good grappler. But yeah, he can't really seem to fight at this level anymore. For Gambaryan, I'd like to see him be used as something of a gatekeeper at bantamweight. I think he's a really good gatekeeper at bantamweight now that I think about it. And he has some name value, he's in the Ultimate Fighter. People know who he is. He's just been there long enough. But with Jorgensen, yeah, I can see him getting bounced from the UFC at this point. Next fight after that, Kevin Lee defeated James Muntazi by rear naked choke in the first round. So there was something funny in this fight. There was actually a double eye poke during the fight. Lee seemed to have gotten the worst of it, but Muntazi got his eye poked as well. Lee, I'm glad I picked him, much improved striking. I said in my predictions that I didn't like that he doesn't really have an exit strategy after he throws a combination. I didn't see that problem here. He didn't just stay in the pocket and just kind of sit there. Obviously, the fight didn't really last long enough to really know if that's still a problem or not. Wrestling-wise, Kevin Lee, fantastic wrestler. He can really take that back too. And he got a rear naked choke over a solid opponent in James Muntazi, who's not a bad prospect in his own right. I think there will come a time when Kevin Lee does. I don't think he has any KO or TKO victories under his belt yet. This is actually his first finish in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the way it looks like with him and the improvements he's made in his stand-up, he can probably even just get ground and pound finishes as well. I can eventually see him get KO or TKO victories. He also has 4 wins in a row now, so it's time for him to move up. Masaran Duba is a good step up. The winner of Pearson versus Dunham is a good step up. Whenever I think of prospects, best guy to test prospects, Gleison Tibau, always, he's the guy. If you want to test a prospect to see if they're ready for the top 10 or not, he's the guy. And other hulking Brazilians, you got Leonardo Santos, the one that strikes. whose name escapes me, but he's coming off that win over against Rustam Khabilov, Brazilian, huge Brazilian. Jeez, I forgot his name. You can fight that guy. So yeah, with Mutazri, just more lower to mid 2 guys of the division. Next fight after that, Aaron Joban defeated Matt Dwyer by unanimous decision. Joban is, in my opinion, really fun. His fights are must-watch television. He's only in good, fun fights, especially when they put him up against other striking-based fighters. You know, he fights Richard Walsh and just plasters him, plasters Seth Baczynski. Yeah, this guy, you know, he's there. Name of the game with Joban, though, besides everything, besides the flash and everything, just resilience. I said this in the predictions, and it held true here. He gets dropped by Dwyer, runs into a punch, and just comes back. Same thing happened against Seth Baczynski. Same thing happened against Warley Alves. You know, he's just a guy. He's a pretty slow starter, so that's something to watch out for with him. But you know, he gets on it. You know, he just has a sense of urgency. He's willing to just get in firefights. Will use cartwheel kicks to great effect. So yeah, you know. Unfortunately, I don't see top 10 potential in Aaron Joban. I see him closer to a Hungyu Lim type, or you know, just that fun mid-level action fighter like Tim Means. Brendan Thatch is now in that territory. You know, it's just on a technical level sometimes. You can see it in this fight. Technique just goes out the window, you know, with him. But man, he is a tough dude. Both these guys are really tough guys. Dwyer, you know, I know I've seen this in the regional scene with him. The guy just has no defense. I mean, there's just no consideration for defense with this guy. I don't know how well of a grappler he is either. But, you know, if you put him against other strikers, he'll have fun fights. So that's what I'd do for both of these guys, really. Joban kind of needs that step up in competition at this point, though. I'd like to see him get the winner of Eric Silva versus Rick Story. I think that'd be pretty cool. I can think of a lot of guys that he have fun fights with, but they're all coming off losses. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Berkman, you know, or Hungyu Lim, or Tim Means, you know. Those are all fun fights, but they're all coming off losses. I can't think of guys, because I don't think he should really be fighting top 10 guys at this point. But maybe give him the blue-collar guys. Like, but even they're coming off losses, like Ryan LaFleur or something like that. That would be pretty interesting as well. Or Joban versus the winner of Kenny Robertson versus Ben Saunders. I think that'd be a fun fight as well. Dwyer, like I said, just more lower to mid guys, especially if they're striking based guys. Ooh, another one for Joban actually. Fun one would be Albert Einstein Tumanov. I would really like to see that fight. Tumanov Joban, both of them are prospects. I find Albert Einstein Tumanov to be more of a blue chip prospect at this point, but just more technically sound, in my opinion. But if I know Joban, he's gonna make it a fight anyways. On to the prelims. Sam Cecilia defeated Yatsin Meza by unanimous decision. Yeah, here's the thing with Meza. You know, he gets outdone at his like biggest strength. You know, it's kind of like Sam Cecilia's not known for his grappling, and Cecilia just out-grappled Yeltsin Meza using, I mean, how many guillotines did he try? But even then, he actually didn't go to his back, Cecilia. He used the guillotine to get on top, which is still a really good idea. It's nice to see that Cecilia is diversifying his game. Um, you know, it's just smart, really. He's a guy that takes a lot of hits. So, you know, doing a little more grappling would, you know, do wonders for his brain, I suppose. But yeah, you know, Meza, I mean, I think he's coming off. Before this, he beat Stasiak, so I think he's going to probably stay in the UFC, and he took this fight on short notice. But at this point, man, he is like a really low-level guy, you know? He's like just UFC level, you know? If like, he can test maybe guys coming into the UFC, but there aren't too many guys that Meza can beat. Cecilia, I just kind of see him as something of a mid-level guy, and that's really who he should be fighting at this point. You know, just more mid-level guys. I don't really see him as much of a prospect or anything like that. Next fight after that, Jessica Andrade defeated Sarah Morris by unanimous decision. Even in a division as thin as women's bantamweight, you cannot have Sarah Morris's game. It just, you cannot pull guard. You cannot be a guard player in the UFC. It's just not going to work. And Jessica Andrade was the much better grappler. She was able to take her down at will almost, pass her guard almost at will, and beat her up when the fight hit the ground. And to stand up, Andrade beat her up there too. So, besides getting sloppy in that third round, where Morris took her back and went for the rear naked choke, really Morris didn't have much for her. It just, that game just doesn't work in the UFC level, you know? Even in women's bantamweight, which is a relatively thin division, I don't know if Morris can really get too many wins in the UFC. She'll probably stay in the UFC because she is coming off the win over Alexis Dufresne, but otherwise, I can't see her get too many wins. Jessica Andrade will always be undersized for the division. I really gotta wonder if she can make a play for like 115. Lose some muscle or something. She can definitely cut to 125. Just from what it looks like. But, you know, I gotta wonder if she can cut to 115. If not, she's really good. You know, surprisingly, like, she makes her the best of what she's got. You know, she's really strong and compact. She doesn't throw like jabs and crosses because she's short. You know, there's no point. So she wings punches. You know, and it works. And you know, she gets inside, wings punches and whatnot. Tries to take opponents down, and you know, it's a game that works to a degree, though. You know, Liz Carmouche more or less managed to out-wrestle her and and beat her up from top control and whatnot. I think Carmouche could probably beat her again. And Carmouche isn't even that big for 135 as well, you know? I'm going to see a lot of opposition beating Andrade, but I can also see Andrade beating a good amount of like mid-level opposition. It's around that like top 10 level that I think she'd have more problems with. With that said, as far as she's fighting next, there aren't a million options. You know, you kind of have to give her a top 10 fighter. Give her like Alexis Davis. You know, there aren't like this like. I guess you can go Holly Holm, Jessica Andrade. That actually wouldn't be too bad, as well. What's Jermaine Durandami doing? You know, Durandami versus Andrade would be interesting. I think Andrade should just take her down all day, though. But yeah, you know. a good one for Andrade. Like I said, if she can get to 115, I think she can actually do very well in that division. At 135, it's already shown that she's going to hit a ceiling. Sarah Morris, she needs a better game. She needs just a smarter game for the UFC level, because I just can't see, besides catching miracle subs, it's a really low percentage way of winning in the UFC. And even then, it's not like she even has like this crazy guard either. She doesn't have like Charles Olivier's guard, Fighters her Andros was able to pass it over and over again. Next was that Rani Yaya defeated Masanori Kanehara by split decision. Round 1, I gave it to Yaya, but rounds 2 and 3 should have gone to Kanehara. I felt that Kanehara was outstriking him. Yaya wasn't able to really take Kanehara down. And even the few times he did, he wasn't able to keep him down for long periods of time. And there were times where Yaya would just grab a leg and just get ground and pounded, and unable to do much. So I don't know why Rani Yaya got this win. Yaya who he is. His striking isn't very great. His ground game is awesome. And he doesn't have this explosive takedown, but he is so relentless about getting takedowns. It works to a certain degree, especially against lower and mid-tier guys. But there's, he's not a prospect or anything like that, but he's a guy whose game is good enough to get wins consistently in the UFC. He's just fight more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. Kanehara, there are a couple technical things with his boxing that didn't look too impressive in this fight, as opposed to Caceres' fight where he looked really good. Like I said, I thought he won this fight. He is a solid fighter, though, nonetheless. He's good on the ground. He's pretty much able to get back to his feet when he's taken down against a guy like Yaya. That's really good. He can strike, and there's improvement in his striking. I don't really know how high he can get, but he is a solid fighter nonetheless. It's more mid to lower tier guys in the division for him. Next fight, that Sean Strickland defeated Igor Araujo by unanimous decision. It was good to see Sean Strickland in this fight, because he didn't look great against Ponzinibbio, except he showed how great his chin was. But otherwise, he really took it to Araujo in that first round. He really kind of let up a little more and more as the rounds progressed. But, he's still a good prospect. His striking looked improved. He wasn't throwing too many single shots. His output was a little better. And his wrestling still looks to be really strong. Just get more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for him. With Igor Araujo, I guess he's good enough to fight into the UFC level, but there's not much to his game, really. Just more lower level guys in the division for him. Next fight after that, and these are the Fight Pass prelims. Kevin Casey defeated Ildemar Alcantara. Pretty boring fight. Not much I can say. But it is interesting that, Alcantara is known for grinding decisions. Kevin Casey was able to do that to Alcantara. And I don't really consider Casey as a prospect, but he's good enough to be in the UFC. Both these guys, just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. And finally, Lyman Good defeated Andrew Craig by TKO in the second round. I'd assume that Andrew Craig will probably get cut after this. I think he's on a losing streak, and really, at this point, there's really not much upside to him or anything like that. Lyman Good, solid performance. He's a good jab. He had a good leg kick going on. He's big for the weight class as well. Strong guy. It's a solid fighter, you know. Just more lower to mid-tier guys of the division for him. So that's it for my UFC Fight Night 71 post-fight analysis. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.